Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Post podcast with Mark Madison. In this episode, Mark talks to Caprice Coleman. Go to www.prowrestlingpost.com for interviews, blogs, reviews, and upcoming events in your area. You can listen to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Anchor, or whatever podcast app you prefer. And now, here is Mark and Caprice.
Now, discuss your early training under the Hardys and your time with Omega. How did that all work out, and what did you walk away from that experience with?
A lot of confidence. I really enjoyed my experience with them. They're actually who brought me into wrestling. It's pretty much all I knew. And being with them, I didn't really understand who I was with until later because in my head, I just wanted to wrestle. I just wanted to be trained how to wrestle. And didn't realize I was with one of the most elite group in the business, you know. So that was a big plus for me. And if I had to do it all over again, I just would have did some things different as far as risks that I've taken. I would have taken them a lot earlier if I would have known then what I know now.
Okay. Super, thank you. Now, maybe you can clarify something because I'd read something, and rumors are rumors until somebody either refutes them or says, no, it's not, that you had competed for the WWE at one point in your career.
I've competed with WWE plenty of times in my career.
Okay. So maybe describe the experience and what do you feel could have been done better to maybe support that growth that you were talking about that you did with Omega?
As far as with WWE?
Yes. Professionally, for yourself.
I think, I don't know, just at the time, I didn't realize, like I said, the opportunities that I had when I was younger. But even when I started training in wrestling, I was already living on my own, and I already had a full-time job and all that, and I was already going to school. And so those were my priorities. Matt and Jeff and Shannon and all the rest of the guys, their only priority was really wrestling. So a lot of decisions that they made, giving up everything and going straight for wrestling, I didn't do because, I had bills to pay. I had to go to work and all. But if I had to do it all over again, I might have even moved back in with my parents, just went, all out with wrestling and taking all the, chances then. But I wasn't brought up that way, And at the beginning with wrestling, I was kind of looking at it as something cool to do. And maybe I'll make it to WWE one day, but I didn't put everything into it like I should have when I was single, and it just caught up with me. They took, all they did was wrestle. They didn't do anything else. They had a little side job and all, but the side jobs they had allowed them to wrestle whenever, they needed to, and they still lived with their parents and stuff like that. So they didn't have any true responsibilities.
Right.
And I did, and that's kind of what, my priorities, looking back, my priorities in the wrong place, but at the time, I felt my priorities were in the right place,
True. But you also found it as being a learning experience for yourself. Would you have said that?
Say again?
Would you have said that it was a learning experience for yourself? And because sometimes without those opportunities, you kind of don't know what lies ahead, and you kind of build on that. Do you feel that it maybe did that?
Yeah, I did learn from it, but it kind of with me, kind of too late to do anything about it because now I'm married with children, and the same things I pose. I can't give up everything and go for wrestling when I have mouths to be at home. So the best I can do with that is, up and coming wrestlers, let them know what they're in for and what they can do, and the risk to take while they're young, to make it pay off when they're older. Because the older you get, the more responsibilities you get. It's hard to put everything aside and just go pro wrestling,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it takes to make it in this sport.
As a father of an 11-week-old myself, I can totally understand where priorities are very different. So if you've got to put food on the table, you got to make a decision that works best for you. And I totally commend you for doing that. As one half of the CNC Wrestle Factory, yourself and Cedric Alexander shared a fair amount of success. How did the initial concept come about for you two to be together?
Together?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had just moved back in the country. I've been overseas for 3 years. And, pretty much not really stopped wrestling, but there was nowhere for me to wrestle overseas, and I had to go overseas because, in debt and all, because thinking I was going to get signed with WWE and all. I didn't start spending money or whatever like that. It's just I had went to college. I paid my way through college. And all that, and then stuff just caught up with me. And I had lost my job at one time, and the time I had lost my job, I kind of was paying my rent with my credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up, when I graduated, I got a job and was trying to pay it off. But I always thought when I got a job when I graduated, I'd be making good money, but I wasn't. And so I was paying the minimum balances, and then it ended up, being a whole lot more. And so I needed to pay the bills off. And so I moved overseas to pay the bills off. And I was able to pay all my bills and debts off and stuff like that. And then when I always liked wrestling, but I just couldn't wrestle over there. So I had to get up at a time. And then the last year I was there, wrestling actually came to Kuwait. And I was able to pick it back up. And I stayed in shape. And once I got that first match, first time back in the ring, I was put all over again. And I was ready to come back. And when I came back, I went back down to NWA Anarchy, is what it was called then, and Bill Barons and all. And they were just seeing if I was, the same or better than when I left. And I guess they thought I was. And Ring of Honor saw that I was back in the country. And they called me up. And, of course, with TNA and WWE and all, everybody knew I was back, and they was just pretty much seeing, compared to what I was before I left, how was that? And WWE and TNA, with my talks with them, it was kind of like starting all over again, like, who was this guy, da-da-da. But Ring of Honor, they knew who I was. They just wanted to know if I was able to keep up a full-time schedule. And with WWE and all, when I got back, it was the first time that I realized that my age played a big part in the fact of me being a full-time roster there. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with TNA, and that's when that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, with Ring of Honor, they didn't care about my age. They just wanted to know that I could perform at the level that they needed, Mm-hmm. But WWE was big on age, the investment on the age and stuff.
So the idea of you and Cedric and how that came about, just when you came overseas, it just kind of worked itself out?
Oh, man, I jumped ship and just taught a whole other stuff. When I got back in country or whatever, Ring of Honor, like they talked to me and they told me the idea that they had when I was doing matches for them or whatever with Cedric. And I had known Cedric because when I got back in country, I started working with the NWA and all, and Cedric was part of that, and we were doing seminars together. We would always stick at each other because he was like real young, very young. I think he was like 18 at the time, and we kind of hung together because I was kind of like his, mentor, but not mentor. It was kind of like I recognized him a lot, and so we talked when we saw each other, and we used to pick and say, "Hey, don't stand too close to me because with us being black, they're gonna make us the tag team." Mm. It was kind of that thing, and he would bounce stuff off of me, type stuff, because he was really, really young. There's not a lot of black people in wrestling, so when somebody else is there that's black, you kind of automatically are closer to him, and that's kind of what it was with me and him. And so we were very familiar with one another. And then when Ring of Honor told us about the idea, we both just kind of busted out laughing. It was like we knew it was going to happen eventually, because that's just the way things go in the sport. So when I was
I got to tell you, like even the name of the team itself, younger audiences may not be as familiar. Yes, it's a play on both of your names, but the whole like CNC Music Factory, CNC Wrestle Factory, I think it worked perfectly. So really clever, but really smart, and it worked. It made sense.
Definitely wasn't our idea. The first time we tagged, it was in like a tag tournament, something with Ring of Honor, and like a smart mark name is that like on the internet, and then like it just caught on, and so we were actually trying to figure out a name for our tag team, and we couldn't really come up with anything that Ring of Honor would agree on, and then it just went to, hey, if it ain't broken, don't fix it, because by the time we had taken up for coming up with a name, matches were going on, and they would always say CNC, CNC. So we were just kind of stuck with that.
The split between you and Cedric was really amicable at the time. Where did that idea come about? Did you feel maybe that there could have been more that you two could have accomplished or could have done together as a team? Or were you happy with it being...
Absolutely, both ways. I mean, in my way, I felt like the split was early because I understand why they did it, because Cedric was really, really hot on the indies at the time. And he still is, and my schedule don't allow me to do as much on the indies as other people's schedule allows them. And so he was really, really hot on the indies, and word was getting out, so they wanted to push him, single-wise. I understood that, and I knew that I would get a singles push as well, but like I said, I don't have the time outside of wrestling to put into wrestling as much as others are, singles, whatever, do with me, with the ministry work that I do, and married with a family and working and all. So I understood that, and I do feel that we could have went a lot further. I still feel that the future is still, anything's possible, but I think now that Cedric is coming into his own in the single ranks, he's learning a lot more, almost than what I could teach him through the experience that he's getting. And I'm learning a lot more as well, because like when I came back to the country, wrestling had changed a whole lot. And it took a while for me to adjust to the new standards of wrestling. And I believe with our time apart, we've both been able to adjust to that. So if we end up back together, fine. If not, that's fine as well. I think either way, we're both going to be fine.
So this is kind of piggybacking off of that. As both of a singles and a tag team wrestler yourself, you've achieved success. Do you have a preference, either one way or another, whether you prefer to compete as a tag partner or as a single?
I prefer singles because I'm a very creative person, and I like tag as well. If I had a choice, of course, everybody would be single, I believe. But I think having that, it's kind of like the Briscoes. If I had a choice, it would kind of be like the Briscoes, to where, I'm tied with somebody that's, they know that, hey, we're going to be tag team regardless, but we still have our single careers as well. Mm-hmm. If I had no choice, it would be like that.
Now, at times, wrestling is circular, much like life. That said, both yourself and Omega alumni Steve Corino are together with Ring of Honor and have been for a few years. Do you find that it's kind of, I don't mean for the question to sound redundant, but you worked with him many years ago, and you're working with him in a different capacity today, and you see how he is on commentary, and you see how you are in the ring. Maybe could you speak to the progress or development that you've noticed between both you and he from then and now? It's kind of twofold.
Well, I think that everything that we would notice would be obvious, because when I knew Steve Corino, he was wrestling. He was doing great things in wrestling. When we first met, he wasn't initially, but then he got signed with ECW, and all came to old school and all that. So Steve Corino wrestling was pretty much all I knew. But we always knew he was more like a wrestling historian as well, And so to see him at Ring of Honor when I first came to Ring of Honor, he was there. It was just kind of like, hey, two people that know each other type thing. But he's definitely one of the best ring announce or ring commentators I believe out there today. Extremely witty and gifted in that area.
Would you consider yourself a man of faith?
Of course.
Okay. So the question here is more about religion as it pertains to wrestling. I've asked this question to different people, and the perspective on it is different. So I was curious as to your perspective. Wrestling has a tendency to utilize has a tendency to utilize religion as it means to convey good and bad. Have you ever found that it has ever had a tendency to cross the line in your perspective?
As far as my character, or
no, just in general. It's
I think they cross the lines all the time, which is kind of like the thing that I'm going through at the moment. I feel that wrestling as a whole has taken their liberties with Christianity to make jokes out of it as much as possible. If you ask me, it's kind of like they try to take anybody that's doing the faith thing and try to make them hypocritical. They try to make them a joke. They try to make it, a laughing thing. But, however, if you do something satanic or, quote unquote non-Christian or against it, it's a huge success, like the Undertaker and the Wyatt family, whatever, like that. Or whatever. So it's almost, the very opposite glorification, where there's no such thing as good anymore. Good is frowned upon and bad is glorified. The same thing like my character with the Christian character that I had limits to what I could do. And so now, as you'll probably be seeing in the future, to where I'm kind of steering away from, Caprice, Coleman, the preacher, because I don't want to get stuck into a position to where they're like, okay, let's contaminate you now, and it's contaminating the preacher. You know what I mean? But I feel like if I just go towards Caprice Coleman, I could be more versatile and do more things, good or bad, that wouldn't be attached to the religion aspect or the faith aspect with wrestling, because I think, and a lot of times it comes off distasteful the way they portray Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be a man that upheld in integrity in and out the ring, faith-wise, and I think for the most part I've done that. But there's always limits to how far that character can go in the sport. So I'm coming to a realization that I think that part of me has ran its course, and I need to step into another area to be more versatile and to protect what I believe in, and just, and continue to wrestle as a man of integrity, and a great entertainer without having to put religion on the line all the time. And I believe, even though without me putting religion on the line with people know who I am, they will still respect what I do. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It certainly does. I appreciate that, because I haven't had as much depth in getting that answer. I've had either perspectives of it just being good or bad, and I thought there was a little more depth that you provided, and thank you for that. During your time in ROH, who would you say would be a feud that you were most proud of, and one that you felt could have been developed more?
I don't know. I feel with the Briscoes for a feud that I think could have went on because of I think the vignettes could have been pretty cool. Our feud with Red Dragon could have been a little more, but I think looking back, there were still some things that Cedric and I needed to hone before we could step and stay on that level. And I believe if we got back together now, we would definitely be on that level competitive-wise. he was healthy. Being two veterans, I wanted, positive things. And, maybe I'm not thinking as clear as now of what would be best.
Well, again, when I send it over to you, you're more than welcome to add more to it because you'll have time to look at it too. Wrestlers tend time to develop and improve at their craft. You're 38?
Yep.
Yep. Now, at 38, you appear to be getting better as you get older. To what do you attribute the ability to develop and grow at what you do?
Say that one more time.
So, to what do you attribute that ability in yourself to improve and grow as a wrestler?
I believe it just has to do with your surroundings and what you are around. I believe a big part of me getting better has to do a lot of just being around better people. For a long time, I was with other indies, but I was kind of the king everywhere I went, if that makes sense.
Right.
But when you go somewhere like Ring of Honor where you're not the king and people are there are better than you, then you either get better or you get left behind. So I feel I've been able to get better, and I've been blessed with the ability to stay in shape the way that I have, that I'm able to continue to grow, and that's why I feel confident where I'm at, to where I believe that's yet to come.
Super. I've got two last questions for you, and then I'll let you go. What does the balance of 2015 and beyond have in store for Caprice Coleman?
I believe the very near future is going to show a part of Caprice that I don't believe the world knows that I have. A lot more entertaining, a lot more vocal, a lot alive, I think is what I would call this next phase of Caprice Coleman is alive, to where I just say keep your eyes open. Some things are about to change, I think for the better, and it's going to allow me to bring out more personality than I've been able to with the current situation that I'm in.
And the last question I have for you is, what would you like to encourage, share, and/or promote as it pertains to Caprice Coleman and/or Ring of Honor?
Well, I think with young and up-and-coming wrestlers, I feel that if they're trying to get into wrestling, to take it serious, go all out with it. Don't let anybody tell you no, and be honest with yourself at the same time. I believe in Ring of Honor. I believe Ring of Honor is doing great things, and I look forward to their future to see what they're going to be doing with the new things that we have coming our way. So I just look forward to the future, and I thank for all the support that I have. You can follow me on @Caprice Coleman on Twitter, and I think that's about it.
Thank you for listening to the Pro Wrestling Post podcast with Mark Madison. We'll be back very soon with another great interview. You can always check our website, www.prowrestlingpost.com, for more content. Thank you, and see you next time.